Oh boy. Oh boy.
Back in the saddle.
Oh, back in the bucket seat. What commanding view.
And welcome back into the DNVR show.
Let's go.
Air horn.
The rhythm of doing your own air horns sucks. Like you introduce the show and then you do it. It's like,
Are you looking for sympathy for the air horn bit?
Yeah, I am. It's a lot easier to do from that seat. Welcome into the DNVR show. We are, of course, hanging out here in the Toyota Lounge.
Yes, we
driven
are.
by your Front Range Toyota stores. Beep, beep, Toyota. It's the official vehicle of DNVR.
Do we need
got
an
one.
air horn or a sound for every little segment that we do?
I think so.
I think we do.
Yeah, it'll be like,
a good bit to have.
it's the fast breakdown. Womp womp.
Like, no, it's a podcast. It's not sports radio. Soundboard.
Let's talk about the Nuggets season. Boo.
I like this. What a great show already.
I'm very excited for this show. No Automatas today, but Harrison Wind is back with us and ready to let it rip.
I am back. What's up, guys? Happy to be here. And, yeah, excited for our guest we got today.
What's up with the shirt choice, though, man? You're hurting my feelings with this one, dude.
Me? I'm just trying to stay on parade.
I know, but no.
Oh, yeah.
Me?
Yeah, kind of both of you guys.
Me? Every person's like, but me?
You know what? I don't like mine either. Let's just move on.
He's saying staying on parade is it's bringing up hurtful feelings.
I do like how you sit in Adam's seat and just inherently you have to just judge people for their outfit
Start
choices.
bullying people. I don't know. That's just how
That's
it
how
seems
you
like.
begin a show as the host.
That's
so.
how-
Is you bully people for their outfit.
Yeah.
It's what it looks like from the outside. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's what it feels like.
right on track there.
Speaking of bullying people, Eric Weedham, a.k.a. D-Line, a.k.a. allegedly my boss.
That's definitely your boss. And I spent
Changed.
That's
I
crazy.
spent
Let me
the
write
early
that
part
down.
of today absolutely bullying Ryan Green for his takes on Furiosa. I didn't
Oh,
get
yeah.
it.
How was that?
Well, depends on whether you ask me or Ryan Green.
I'm
We're asking you, though,
It
because
was
you're on the show.
fantastic. It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Brendan agrees. Ryan Green, hope he's watching right now. We're going to slander you again for it, but this time publicly.
And of course, we've got a special guest with us today. It's Ryan Blackburn of
Fellas.
Nuggets coverage and Twitter fame. How are you, man?
Thank you, man. Oh, you know what? That seems like a lot. Twitter fame. That seems
No,
pretty
it's a low
strong.
bar. It's really a low
okay,
bar.
Yeah,
Don't
you
get
know,
too
honestly,
excited.
let's be frank.
You
Yeah,
just have
that's true.
followers.
I'm good. I am like getting a little bit of separation from the Nuggets, which is good.
Yeah.
Like honestly, like they didn't really deserve a ton of awesome, entertaining coverage last week. So I'm on the season in review grind this week. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm
I like
excited
that.
to bring your mind right back to that place.
I like,
cool.
but I also like the idea of punishing essentially the listeners for something the Nuggets did. You're like, this coverage is going to suck and it's going to teach Jamal Murray a lesson. Take that, Chip and Woods.
Yeah, take that, loyal listener. Ryan, I've got a blunt intro here.
Sure.
You are the Jamal Murray guy. That's how.
Yeah,
That's one way I
Been
can
tough out
understand
here
you.
in these streets here in Murrayland.
I
that's
was
for sure.
going to ask, man, because just generally speaking, before we dive too deep into Murray's season, has this been a particularly rough couple of weeks for you?
Yeah, no, I would say so. But here's the thing, man. Like, Murray set the bar about as high as he possibly could with some of his previous playoff runs and stepped up to the table in a way that people didn't fully expect and was unbelievable in the bubble and then coming off of a torn ACL tear. And then he got hurt throughout this season, played like crap for much of the playoffs, and still gave one of the most amazing shots that we've ever seen in Nuggets history.
Two of them.
In game
Same
two.
series, yeah.
It was awesome. It was pretty cool. But that doesn't fully excuse the fact that he basically no-showed the rest of the playoff run, except for game 7, I will say.
I mean, RB, what do you think it was? Because, I mean, we've talked about this endlessly. I think the biggest reason he wasn't playoff Murray was the calf injury and the injuries he had dealt with throughout the season. I think that was reason number one. Reason number two, I guess in the Minnesota series, was probably the defense he went up against. But why don't you think we saw playoff Jamal Murray this year?
I think he was pretty stagnant throughout the season. I think that it started so early. You remember, like, game 8, game 9 of the season, where he goes down for 15 games. And I don't think that he ever got into the rhythm that he had established himself at media day, saying
He was hurt at training camp.
Yeah, hurt at training camp,
yeah.
hurt like game 8, hurt game 27, hurt game 62. Like, I have no idea if those numbers are actually true. But it sort of felt like he never actually built a full rhythm from this regular season. And despite that, I mean, he still played okay. Like, I want to say that the regular season was fine for the most part when he was out there.
I agree.
But the problem is that he had said himself that he wanted to build throughout the regular season, build and become the best version of himself in the playoffs. That's how he had approached the previous season.
Right.
I think that was the wrong call. I think that he got a little bit lazy, I'll say, and complacent after winning a title and like doing the thing that everybody said that you couldn't do, yada yada. Like, I think that he got too comfortable and sort of paid the price for it.
So like this dynamic of I'll be there when it matters, maybe just the wrong mental approach to the season.
Absolutely. Like, can you imagine like being told throughout the entire previous playoff run and the entire previous season, oh, you're playoff Jamal. This is playoff Jamal. You're playoff ready. And then you buy into the hype a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you run into the best perimeter defense that we've probably seen in the last few years with Jaden McDaniels, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Anthony Edwards, and then you got Rudy Gobert helping over. Like, it was a tough matchup, and I thought that he would struggle. I think the calf probably hurt him a little bit, but really it was about him. It was about him not really being able to rise to the occasion, and that sort of was the tipping point for Denver losing, if we're being honest, because it allowed the Minnesota Timberwolves to do a variety of other things that I think really hurt them.
Yeah.
How much of it, D-Line, do you feel was the injury, and how much of it do you feel is, I guess, excusable versus like this is a lesson to be learned?
Well, I myself am a member of the Jamal Murray Appreciation Club along with Ryan Blackburn.
Thank you.
I find that I agree with basically everything that's been said, which is essentially we know how good Jamal is, and Jamal was limited in ways that he can control and ways that he ultimately couldn't control. But it feels like the main culprit here is just that he wasn't quite prepared for the rigors of this NBA season, and he didn't take it as seriously, potentially leading into the season, and it was just a cascading effect of hurt, ramp back up, hurt, ramp back up, that just never allowed him to really become the guy that we know that he can be and like really start to flourish. And it did suck. I mean, I fully expected him to just be Jamal Murray in the playoffs, and at times he was, but yet, like, it's especially frustrating now to watch what Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, who is not at all fleet of foot, but he's quick and strong, he's able to get by those perimeter defenders in a way that Jamal Murray was just swallowed by. And it's like hard.
Size is a big part there.
Size is, yes, but I'm saying like there are different ways. Like, this is not an impenetrable point of attack defense that we're seeing, because we're watching it being broken constantly by these other two guys. And Jamal Murray should be more in the mold of Kyrie Irving, who's having no problem getting around them.
The second best player in the playoffs.
Second best player in the
Who
playoffs.
went 6 of 18 last
He
night.
was terrible. And then also, I also looked at his numbers from the first. An angry Celtics fan sent me his numbers from the first round.
Can't believe that.
He had no business being number 2. I gotta say.
Who's the second best player in the playoffs right now?
Right now, Jaylen Brown, dude.
RB,
Right.
who's the second best player in the playoffs?
Sure. I mean, probably Jason Tatum.
Whoa! Bombshell
I know
on
it
the
sucks.
DNVR.
I know
He's
it
actually
really
been pretty
hurts.
good lately.
Absolute bombshell.
You know,
pretty good.
he averaged 30, 10, and 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals and didn't get Eastern Conference Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
pretty
wouldn't
funny.
know that listening to this podcast.
Yeah. Well, look. Some of us watch the game. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's actually true. I didn't watch a single minute of of Conference Finals
Oh,
basketball.
I was locked into that one. It was not
I'm
fun.
with you, man.
When I
I
do want to
didn't
pull on one thread that RB brought up, which
Yep.
was, I think Murray kind of leaning into that particular reputation. Because one thing I thought of was like he hated the bubble Murray thing. I kind of think he liked the playoff Murray thing. I think
Oh,
that
of
that
course.
one worked for him.
I mean, how could you not love that mystique if that was you?
Totally.
You're like, yeah, the biggest playoff riser in NBA
know,
history.
dude.
That's me. Like,
Sounds
that
pretty
is the
cool.
coolest thing
Yeah.
You're
that
like-
could ever be attributed to a player,
Totally.
I feel like.
You're like the member of the group doing the group project. You're like, I'll be there when we present it.
Yeah.
I'll kick ass. Don't worry.
You're the guy who, doesn't pay attention in class all year, but has a photographic memory.
Yes.
So you just ace every test.
Yes, because you're like super charismatic.
That's the coolest kid in class.
It's so true, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. We all kind of want to be Jamal Murray. You just
Like,
wake
that
up
would
and
be
roll
so
out and
sick.
do it.
Maybe we kind of want to be Jamal Murray. I desperately want to be Jamal Murray.
But you know what would also be cool? Just making an all-star game.
That's the thing.
That'd be
though.
pretty dope.
That's the thing. As much as
Yeah.
we joke about that and we understand that, is it maybe the big takeaway for him personally that
I think this is a springboard moment in Jamal Murray's career.
Could be.
I think that this is one of those moments where he is going to look back at it and say, you know what? I didn't approach that the way that I should have. And I have to approach this with not just a level of seriousness, but more of like a level of aggression that I don't think he ever showed throughout the entire season. I think that there was like, he can sit back and play a traditional point guard role. He tried to do that early on in the season, if you remember, was like his passing numbers were pretty good.
Yeah.
But the reason the Nuggets paid Jamal Murray was because he scores like hell, is because he put up 50, 42, and 50 in the bubble. It's because he averaged 30 points on 50, 40, 90 in the Western Conference Finals the previous season. Like, that's what they pay Jamal Murray to do. And I think he got a little bit away from that. And it would be nice to see him just sort of put some pressure on the opposing team again in a way that Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, all these guys have really shown to do throughout this playoff run.
don't
Yeah.
let him off the hook?
Especially in the regular season, too, because the Nuggets view Jamal Murray as a guy we can put out there with 4 bench dudes,
Yeah.
and that's going to be a capable lineup.
Which that's got to go.
Yeah, that's
Which has never been a thing over the last
Never.
several years since Jamal Murray has risen to the Nuggets' second best player.
Never, ever.
That's never been a winning formula when Nikola Jokic is off the floor. Yet Michael Malone goes back to it after game after game after game after game.
Yeah, you're right
And
there.
it doesn't work. And like if you just look at Jamal Murray and the guy he is in the playoffs, he should be able to do that.
Right.
Like,
True.
But it's just not, and it hasn't worked. And so I gotta feel like that's gotta be part of his and the Nuggets thinking again heading into next year.
Before we get into our first break, I wanted to ask RB and the rest of the panel quickly, what did you like about Murray's season? Did you see anything where you're like, okay, that's growth, or that looks better to me? Obviously, it didn't end the way he or we wanted it to. Was there anything you liked about his regular season? And the answer could be no. I'm just curious.
I did like that he showed more passing acumen. But the problem is that, like, you need to score. And he has to be able to put pressure on the opposing team. And so much of, like, if he was a truly, like, impactful passer, a truly impactful player, then the bench lineups would have been better. Like, he would have been able to set up some of those bench guys a little bit more to be better scorers than they were. And ultimately, those lineups, they just became Murray ISOs at the middle of the floor or post ups, and oh hey, Reggie Jackson's going to try to do something. Like, no, it's I don't think I gave him a C- on the season in my player grades earlier this week, and I tend to think that the passing kind of saves that, and I think that there's more growth that he can have with that, but I'd like to see him get back to being a scorer. And like there were some good defensive moments I thought during the year, but like
I thought he looked like a better shooter, like higher vol, like 3-point shooter.
42%
in
from three is
season.
pretty good.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, it's about hunting that a little bit more. And I just like he said it himself. He wasn't the hunter this year. The team wasn't the hunter this year. They were kind of hunted, and I think he was receiving a lot of punches as opposed to doling them out.
It's so crazy that that's how things settled, where they came to grips that they weren't the hunter, even
just
though
like-
they talked about it incessantly
Yeah.
all year.
They're just like, damn, bro, we're being hunted. Well,
Like they literally talked about that all season. If I hear anybody on the team say hunter or hunted again,
God.
I'm
What
gonna
about
lose
Hunter
my
Tyson?
shit.
can Hunter Tyson
It
say?
was, it was one of those things
Come
where
on, man.
I was of two minds about you don't want to hear it because you're like, that doesn't sound acceptable. And yet it's also a really good, honest answer. I think about that's exactly what happened. And I don't, to me, it
But
almost
it's like- it's-
helped focus the criticism specifically on, I thought they were a team that had what it took to go back to back, and they were decidedly not.
But that's like the wildest thing is that like you're being hunted, but you have a gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also just turn around
This
and
is
shoot
true.
the people that are hunting you. You don't just be running around like they're like, damn, we're being hunted, bro. Like, you have a gun, dude.
The
Shoot them.
other thing I want to bring up really quick is that
Can I actually have you do it on the other side of this break?
oh sure, if you
Yeah,
say
that's
so.
cool.
Okay.
That's
should
a
say
really
no,
good
dude.
tease, Ryan.
Yeah.
That's
Dude, you could just,
Ryan, point to that camera.
Ryan,
Can I get
just
the one
talk
shot?
over him.
Point to that camera and then say after the break.
The one other thing that Jamal Murray can do on the other side.
oh, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Nah, that's okay.
Guys, check out Vestibule, new partner here at DNVR. You can hit the QR code there on the screen. Look, as sports fans, we've all had the thought. I know you guys have. What if you could buy stock in athletes? I know you've had this thought, D-Line.
Yeah, man. Listen, I want to buy stock in Brendan. Not much. I
It's
want to buy
cheap if it helps.
just all my friends, all the people I know. I'm like, how can I get in on this?
Well, now you can. There's a new app called Vestibule, a first of its kind investment app where fans can invest in an athlete's career
Whoa.
and then get paid a portion of the athlete's income
What?
throughout it for doing so.
Wait, hang on.
Yes, this is real. You heard that right. Finally, real athlete
Wait, I would be
stocks.
so
Hold
rich
on.
on MPJ.
Real
stock. Oh my
athlete
God.
stocks.
I need to divest from Brendan, by the
No,
way.
you
I know-
got paid.
hearing
That's
how
the
this
point.
works.
And the first athlete they're launching is one of our very own, Baron Browning, outside linebacker for the Broncos, one of the most explosive and dominant young pass rushers in the league. He's in his rookie contract and heading for what could be a great contract extension.
You'll get a payday.
Now's the time to invest. You don't want to miss out on this guy. So Baron Browning's IPO, is live right now on the Vestibule app, and stocks are available shares are available for purchase, but they're limited. So go download it today. You can hit that QR code right there on the screen. Download the Vestibule app now and invest in Baron Browning,
Dude, this is
in
like,
Michael Porter Jr. His stocks might be a little low right now.
this sounds insane, but like the
his
more you
salary.
think about it, is awesome.
Yeah.
No, you're telling me I could have gotten in on that max contract?
Well, you know, like we spent all of our time being like,
I feel like I played a role in him getting it.
that's what I'm saying. Like we spent all of our
I'm
time being like, hey, man, Jokic is cool. What if you're like Jokic beyond, betting on his threes or something? You're just like, I really want you to have a successful career, and I want to personally benefit from it more so than just dunking on Wolves fans.
I definitely think I've got some equity in Jamal's contract. That's at this point.
I
At this
love
point, I
that.
think
Let's go.
I've saved him from a lot
I
of
do
ire.
think that this is what the players would love to hear. That
Yeah,
we
they
think
would
we're
definitely help.
entitled to their money. That would go really well.
Also, check out Circa Resort and Casino, Vegas' first ever adults only casino. It's where we stay when we go to Vegas. We're going there in about a month for NBA Summer League. Of course, Circa is the place where we'll be hanging out. A 3-story style stadium swim, 4,000 person capacity, the best place to watch sports. They got an awesome casino, an awesome sports book, great restaurants. It's adults only, so you don't need to take out your ID every time you go do something. Check out Circa Resort and Casino. You can get 20% off there when you use the code DNVR20 when booking your stay. Experience stadium swim. Watch your favorite teams at Circa Resort and Casino. Beautiful resort. They have stadium swim, awesome casino. The rooms are great too. It's a really new casino as well, so everything feels really clean, really well done. Over 500 rooms with a variety of layouts to fit your needs. Use the code DNVR20 for 20% off.
Plus, the one thing that I think is in the read that you always skip over, I saw Yarmer Yager there 2 times.
It's not in the read. It's not in the read.
It's not?
No. Do you want me to put it in?
But we did.
It's an edible
So
document.
I was
Separate
there
times.
with you when we saw him at that restaurant.
Yep.
That, what was it? Asian restaurant?
Yep.
It was really good.
We're getting, brisket fried rice.
Oh man.
We saw Yarmer Yager. We saw him again at Stadium Swim. That will
treat.
tell you nothing will.
What a treat.
This is the most read of all time.
This is a
Yeah.
read. We're back. We're back. And not only are we back, we're back and we cut off Ryan Blackburn right before the break. Ryan,
Stay tuned.
what were you sitting on? What were you cooking there?
Yeah, so one other aspect of Jamal's growth that I think sort of went under the radar last year and then took a step back this year was leadership. He's got to be like one of those guys that takes ownership of this team and ownership of that second unit if he's going to be out there, ownership of whatever unit he's going to be out there
agree.
with, and sort of take some of that burden off of Joker. There's so many things that Joker has to do day in, day out, that like he's touching the ball like every single possession, like he's making everything happen for the team. whatever Jamal can do to sort of take off the burden, I think actually matters. And not just on the offensive end, not just on the defensive end, but just sort of in the leadership aspect of making sure the team is driving really well. I think that one of the things that it's really hard to lead when you are hurt and everybody can see that you're struggling and you've been playing horribly in the playoffs. That probably took a step back in the playoffs this year, and he's got to recover that.
Yeah. I feel like we've been a little harsh on Jamal in his season.
We have.
Just because of how it ended. And, I mean, he did have a great Game 7 until, a couple of those turnovers in the second half. But, I mean, you get the criticism when you have a playoff exit like that and you perform in the playoffs like he did. So, we shouldn't feel bad about it. But I thought his regular season the numbers, were okay.
Yeah.
His 3-point percentage was way up, a career high there. I think he did level up as a passer. I think he was pretty good defensively too. But I kind of feel like the Jamal Murray that we've seen in the regular season is just who Jamal Murray might be during the season. But overall, and I've said this before, a week ago, the Nuggets need to be so much more process-oriented in the regular season. They need to have the long view next year. And, Jamal Murray is a huge part of that.
Let's turn our eyes then to next year. We've spent plenty of time in these last few shows painstakingly reliving our favorite players' shortcomings. Let's talk about the offseason. And RB, I had you put together a very general wish list that we could use to just kind of talk ourselves through the offseason. Kill, do we have a graphic for that?
What?
You're so cool, man.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
Boom.
That is a face.
How sad! Sad that Ryan's off-season wish list is 2 empty chairs.
I know.
Yeah.
Although the beach looks nice.
Nobody to share it with.
Yeah.
How sad.
He's like, I wish that I could go hang out with.
Ring chasers.
I wish I could sit next to a chair with a hat on it.
Let's talk about basketball.
This is
That's
just
crazy.
a picture that Ryan's looking at from his room.
Yeah.
Number 4, it looks like it says ring chasers, RB. Please do elaborate.
Yeah, so this is in reverse order, as people can probably guess. I think that one of the things that Calvin Booth has missed out on since taking over is adding veterans that just want to go somewhere to win a ring. DeAndre Jordan was a great addition in retrospect. Justin Holiday, pretty solid addition, I would say. And I think I gave him an A grade yesterday. But in terms of actual names that you could get on a free agency wish list that hey, you see all these teams that, especially the larger market teams, how did they get that guy? How did they get that person to sign for that little? The name that I think back to last year was Eric Gordon of the Phoenix Suns. How helpful would a guy like Eric Gordon have been in this playoff run, especially against the Minnesota Timberwolves, given that Denver couldn't really space the floor, given that they couldn't really take any pressure off of Jamal in the way that they needed to? That's a name, but also it's just a general concept. The Nuggets have to find some opportunities to add veterans that are a little bit that are paid way less than what they deserve to be, that want to win a ring. If that's the goal at the end of the day, Denver's kind of probably get with the times.
What do you think about that, Win? I do think there were some vets that they've managed to add and include.
Yeah, I mean, Ish Smith, Bruce Brown, DeAndre Jordan, Justin Holiday. I feel like all those guys could be in that category.
But can you go to an Eric Gordon and say, look at Bruce Brown's last 2 years, man?
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Brown's a little different because he's not the veteran, quote unquote, ring chaser.
Yeah, he's probably above that category at this point.
For sure. Yeah, I think they probably need to find one of those guys maybe next year. Will DeAndre Jordan be back? I'd be fine with having him back. I feel like he's still really valuable. But yeah, it would be cool to have another one of those guys. But there's also so many other things that go into that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Sure.
You
need the right person.
You do need the right person, and so many of these things are decided under the table, and Eric Gordon going to Phoenix, there's so many off the record things that made him go there, and it's not like he would have gone anywhere else, and just stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that's an avenue the Nuggets could pursue. I think Calvin Booth's vision isn't really going to change this summer. I think he actually might even double down on the infusing the Nuggets rotation pipeline with young guys. I don't feel like he's lost any confidence in his vision. But yeah, I would expect a veteran ring chaser for sure. One, I'd say, at minimum.
I guess that's where I fundamentally disagree with Calvin, because I know who Michael Malone is.
Sure.
And I understand that like it's all well and good. And I think it's a sound strategy to have a guy that's like at a cheap contract for multiple years. But Michael Malone's not going to play Jalen Pickett or Hunter Tyson if he doesn't feel like he can. Or it could be like, and the other thing is just like the number of roster spots that Denver had this year that just went to guys that weren't really going to contribute in the playoffs. It was probably like 5 or 6 of them that you could point out and say, yeah, that guy's probably not going to play. And Denver's got to have more guys that can play. In my
How
opinion.
many more do you think?
Probably not that many more, like 2 more. Like
Tops,
that would be my number, and then maybe hope that one of the other young guys kind of pops. Like Julian Strawther, I think could play a larger role. I think I saw you tweet about that earlier. So like I think that he could absolutely play, and so that's one of the benefits of having some of those young guys in the pipeline is they surprise you. But
The only thing is now they've been in the pipeline for a year, and anyone you add, I guess
Takes
you could
it,
argue, clogs it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's for the best from the Michael Malone perspective in the meantime. But I definitely don't think that after 1 year of what was described as a long-term plan that Calvin will balk at all at
No, he
at
can't.
a shortcoming. I don't think he will.
He can't. Like, it would just ultimately be a full waste of this year if he doesn't allow his long-term plan to bear any fruit at all. That would be insane.
But it's tough. I mean, I think you even saw, this is just my opinion, I don't know if it worked out this way behind the scenes. Like, I'm pretty sure Tim Connolly traded Torrey Craig so that they would start MPJ. Like, he was just tired of Malone playing him over.
Sure.
And so, you give Malone those guys, and it's probably going to play them.
And if you're Michael Malone, man, you got to get on the same plan that the rest of the organization is on. Like, how Calvin Booth is constructing this roster, I'm pretty sure everybody in the building is on track with that. And, like, this goes back to my point about process over results. They have to take the regular season and think of it from a process standpoint.
Right.
Play the whole roster. Not play 4 guys off the bench with 1 starter. No lineup in the NBA is going to be good, like, with that thinking. It's just not how it works.
I'm envisioning Joker kicking out to Hunter Tyson and Jalen Pickett in the post while he's being triple teamed now. In November.
Hunter Tyson shot 39% in the G
November.
League
Yeah,
from
sure.
3.
Like it may happen, but I think there's a fine line, right, between like going one way or the other, and the Nuggets are trying to do both at the same time.
Yep.
And that can cause some friction,
Look,
as we've definitely
The
seen.
Mavs are playing Jaden Hardy as their 8th man in the playoffs. Like, I was not good during the regular season.
He's like the same age as Christian Brown. But how many?
He's
of
21. Jaden Hardy's 21.
How many Jaden Hardys can you play though? Like, so
And
they're
Christian
playing
Brown
one.
did play.
Yeah.
Christian Brown
Like,
did
but-
play.
But then they also have guys that they can feel like they can count on their bench.
Josh Green, he's in his 3rd year.
He's hitting.
okay.
I mean, yeah, then you also have like Daniel Gafford. You have other guys that they feel good. Well, like, we had no one he felt good about.
But
on
what
his
I'm
bench.
saying is that's because they totally mismanaged the regular season.
Maybe it's, to me, it's like more that, to me, it comes down to those 2 second-year players, is Christian and P. Watt, like, and that he didn't feel confident playing those guys. Like, that is like, oh man, that's not good. Like, this is supposed to work to where those guys are getting up to speed to where you can start to count on them. You don't have to just keep replacing it every year with new ring chaser guys. Like,
For the record, I think P. Watt should have definitely played in the playoffs. That should have happened.
And it's like when you're playing Peyton Watson next to Zeke Najee and Reggie Jackson and Christian Brown the whole year. Like, how is that setting him up for success when in the playoffs he knows he's not going to be playing in that lineup? You know?
It's true.
but we thought that the starting 5 alone was enough. I think we all believed that, you know.
Well,
so,
they were until they weren't.
yeah, exactly.
Kill, is it second break time already? Oh man, I'm getting the hang of this, dude.
Hey, way to go,
take
dude.
us away, baby.
Nice job.
Guys, check out Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. From now until her game on June 2nd, you can use Caitlin Clark and other designated players in an all WNBA entry for a 10% payout boost.
Okay.
For every 3 that she hits
I'm
that
listening.
night, your boost increases by 3%. So you can get in on that. They also have a pick'em game you can get in on. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. You can make entries of all basketball and hockey or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. Underdog Fantasy, really awesome to play. It's really easy to use in their app or website. You can hit that QR code there on the screen. Throughout the playoffs, they run tons of different promos as well. Bonus cash, airdrop specials, giveaways, and much more. Follow Underdog Picks on Twitter for that. You can sign up today with promo code DNVR to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. That's Underdog Fantasy with code DNVR. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to sign up today. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ncpgambling.org.
Wind, I'll take the baton from you here. The American Raptors, Colorado's only professional rugby team, are back. You can catch their games on ESPN Plus. When they're in town, you can catch them over at Infinity Park in Glendale, also known as Rugbyville, USA. Great little culture there. Great little rugby culture here in Colorado that I didn't know about until we hired Colton Strickler and we all went out to Infinity Park as the company. That was a great time. Colton Strickler hosts our DNVR Rugby podcast. He does a great job of marrying that show for the layman's, for the lifers. So whether you're trying to learn about rugby or learn more about rugby, you can do it with that great show hosted by our guy Colton Strickler. Wherever you get your DNVR pods, you can get the DNVR Rugby Pod. Also, save the date and come out to Infinity Park for the first movie night of 2024 on June 10th.
Ooh, what are they showing? Dune 2?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Whoa, which
Mutant
one?
Mayhem.
Oh,
I don't know
the
which one.
newish
I think
one.
that's the good one, right?
Yeah, it's the new one, like
All right, let's
the
go.
cartoon one.
Gates open at 6 p.m. and the movie starts at 7 p.m. Moviegoers are encouraged to bring their own chairs, blankets, and park coolers with their favorite snacks D-line. Please leave grills and glass containers at home.
Oh.
Don't do it. Leave them at home. For those
Fine.
not bringing food, an on-site food truck will deliver delicious options for
What
purchase.
the H? This is
All
awesome.
movie nights in 2024 are free to attend.
What?
Don't miss out on this fun, family-friendly event at Infinity Park in Glendale.
Dude, that's awesome.
And we're back.
Go.
And not only are we back, we're going back to Ryan Blackburn's off-season wish list.
Woo!
We made
Spent
it
some
one.
time talking on ring chasers.
Hey,
What do we got at
there's
number 3 here?
The backup center.
Uh-oh, D-line.
Backup
D-line.
center's over there.
Let's go. Let's go. Dude, is Ryan the only one I see eye to eye with? We both love Jamal Murray.
That's you guys in those chairs right there.
Is that my
You
hat?
and Ryan.
We'll hold hands and be on the beach. That'd be great.
Like one of those erectile dysfunction commercials?
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like that.
Don't think I'd have that
Two
problem.
bathtubs were just sitting.
Let's get a pod hosted by the most analytically oriented guy on the beat and
Let's
D-line.
go.
And
Yeah.
you guys can just do
You know
that.
what that
a
sounds
great
like?
pod.
This
That
show right
sounds-
now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds like a horrible.
Sounds
horrible
interesting.
time, but I love D-line. That'd be great.
Talk to us about backup center.
Yeah, so one of the biggest issues that Denver had this offseason was that, or this past season, was that Zeke Naji did not prove to be playable. That DeAndre Jordan is in the later stage of his career where he can't be counted upon every single night, isn't
think?
versatile
That's
enough.
generous.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's like 48 years old.
It's sort of tough. It's a tough place to be, and you look at some of these other teams and the amount of resources that they've been able to throw out there at backup center. The Celtics have both Kristaps Porzingis when he's healthy and Al Horford. The Mavericks have Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford, who they traded for. Having 48 minutes of center play has suddenly become important. And last year, Denver got away without it because Aaron Gordon was awesome as the backup center, and Jamal Murray was just better kind of leading that second unit. This year, with Peyton Watson in place of Jeff Green, Denver didn't have as much size. The offense or the defensive rebounding became a little bit more of an issue with Zeke Naji, especially out there. And more than anything, Joker just got tired, folks.
That's the part
he
I
got
think is-
so tired throughout the season. He played 79 games, won an MVP, was the best player in the league, and still ultimately, he shot 22% from three in the Minnesota series. And I think that part of that was because he just didn't have as much legs as he probably needed.
Yeah, that's the biggest point for me. Because I think the actual utility of having one outside of buying Jokic time is overstated. Like, they didn't have one basically when they won a title.
Yeah.
And I think as far as weaknesses go, if like you can't figure out how to, like, when your best player's off the floor, you don't look good. Like, that happens to some title teams,
Sure.
some LeBron-led teams and Cleveland, and hardly a crime for either Cleveland or Denver to build their roster around Jokic. That's how they got there. But I do think we've kind of maybe hit the breaking point on how far these guys are being pushed, and it's just a lot to ask of Jokic. I think, particularly because it's not just having this game off here or this game off there. It's like, you're playing the Pistons. Like this
36 minutes.
This guy can play X more minutes tonight, and you don't have to. And they've just that option they haven't really had unless they do it with Aaron Gordon, who was also exhausted by the end of the playoff run. Again, that's not that like exhaustion is everyone's exhausted that time of year, but what are other teams maybe doing to have mitigated that? And does Denver maybe need to re-examine their rotation because of that?
Yeah, I think they definitely need a backup center next year that's playable. And I have a hard time seeing Zeke Naji being back. Like, I think he's definitely going to get traded this summer. And, hopefully they're able to get back a rotation caliber guy in that deal, which I think there's a good chance they can. But yeah, it's just tough when the Nuggets have so much money assigned to the starting five, and then Reggie Jackson is next up in like from a salary standpoint. And then as a backup center, you're looking at minimum contract guys right now. And I feel like this summer there could be a chance to get a couple like guys in that category. Like Dario Saric is a guy who I feel like would be a great fit as a backup five.
I'm in.
A guy who can actually create some offense and just has a little juice on the offensive side of the floor. And I, was even told like at the trade deadline, that's a guy that they inquired about, and there was actually a little something there maybe. But then the Warriors decided to hold on to him.
Boom.
So getting a guy like that, who I think would probably garner a minimum contract, that'd be great. He's a guy you can roll out there in the regular season. He can play 15 minutes a night, even a little more too. And then the playoffs, if he gives you anything, it's probably an added bonus. And you still go back to the Aaron Gordon at backup five look as your first option. But yeah, a guy like Saric, Steven Adams would be awesome if the Rockets want to let him go and he is healthy at all.
Yeah.
He'd be a great option as well. Yeah. But I do think they need somebody there.
And for me, like the thing that's like really missing is that they don't have any rim protection. Like they have Peyton Watson who can get bodied and bullied, but you can't count on him for being the rim protector guy. They should have another guy that they can bring in if they play a team like Minnesota, where you can at least counteract the size that's being thrown against you. They just need a guy that can, if the situation calls for it, protect the rim. Be athletic.
In general, yes. I respectfully disagree about how that manifested in Minnesota, just because I don't think, not that it wouldn't have helped, just as far as my pecking order of like things I would have changed. I thought that was an offensive problem for them in that series.
It is,
more
but
than
I'm
a
just saying, like
defensive
they
one.
get worn down by two big bodies, and they don't feel
Just
like they
having
can.
an option.
They don't feel like they can put Peyton Watson in because is going to get bullied by Naz Reid and Cat and like all of these big guys. Like they just need somebody that can give rim protection, especially if you're playing with Anthony Edwards driving to the rim every time against Jamal Murray, and no one is challenging him at the rim ever. You saw...
Yeah, Jokic is not going to meet Anthony Edwards.
No, he's not. But like you just... Like in last night's game, he got blocked like 5 times trying to drive to the rim.
Yeah.
I thought the theory with Zeke was good. The problem was that he just wasn't really ready for that, and the offensive end was really the problem with Zeke. It wasn't even really the defensive end. It was like he was still able to switch. He was able to do some things. He blocked a lot of shots, actually.
It's because he's like an undersized center.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, cool, you're undersized, so hit some
But
shots.
then you would like for him to be able to play with Jokic as well and like play the 4 a little bit. That was the idea of it.
What would you say you do well here?
I do think, I don't know if it's they, as in Najee and his trainer, or the team and the coaching staff, or a combination, but going away from being a pick and pop guy.
I know. What are we doing?
it just felt like that was the one thing he did at the NBA level.
What are we
but-
freaking
We
doing
need
here?
investigative reporter Harrison Wind on that case.
I mean, the Nuggets did
What
say
the hell
we want
happened?
him. They were telling him to roll all season.
Yeah,
but
which
it
is-
also felt like then he and his trainer worked on his shot, which felt weird. And I don't know, man. It just felt like they almost kind of like mutilated his skill set. You know?
So go get Andre Drummond if you can for the vet minimum. If not, draft
I
somebody.
feel like he's going to get more than a minimum. Drummond.
Maybe so. And that would suck.
Plumlee?
I like Mason Plumlee. Listen.
He feels like a minimum guy this time
I'm not
around.
targeting him, but like I'm not targeting him. You know what I mean?
What about this one? I know he's always hurt. What if you get Robert
already like it.
Williams in a trade?
Robin Williams, the
Robert
famous
Oh,
actor?
he's dead. R.I.P. Robert Williams.
Robert Williams.
He's on the
Time Lord?
Blazers now. Time
Yeah,
Lord.
Time Lord.
He's
Yes.
always hurt.
Yes.
He is always
He's
hurt.
always hurt.
He's
Yes.
probably going to be hurt.
He's
but
probably
you
gonna
can
be
get
hurt.
him.
Listen, man, I'm hurt. Bring him in.
What if you get Isaiah Stewart, the guy that gets in fights with LeBron?
Oh man, that's pretty dope.
I actually
Off
would be
the
down to have
Pistons.
one guy that's like, Trae Young drops 40 and 10 in your building and he shushes you, and then Isaiah Stewart just fights him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
like
think
that.
they
Yeah, guy
need
that's
that.
like-
They lost that with Bruce Brown more than even
Yeah.
any
no
of
one's
his
got
skills.
that dog in them.
Although Bruce Brown did it with basketball. I think Isaiah Stewart might actually just want to fight some people. That's a little different.
They could
but-
get James Johnson.
Yeah, sure. All right. We've heard the arguments for backup center. That's not the end of your list, though, Ryan Blackburn.
not.
What else are we looking at here on Ryan's offseason wish list?
Oh, it's a backup, or not even really backup. We'll see. But combo guard. The problem that they ran into with the Minnesota Timberwolves was that there was only one person that could handle the basketball, and that was Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray and
Yep.
Reggie Jackson couldn't really share the floor together either.
Yep.
And that was one thing that they lost when they lost Bruce Brown, was somebody who could both play with and without the starting point guard and kind of be malleable, change their role a little bit, handle the basketball, make some things easier for Jamal, but also Jamal could then make things easier for Bruce in turn. I don't think that they can go get Bruce unless he declines his team option and is like, you know what, his team declines his option and then he signs for something cheap. But could they get somebody like a DeLon Wright, the equivalent of a Nickeil Alexander-Walker from Minnesota, somebody in that general realm where
Oh, man.
you want somebody who could play some defense, hit some shots, make some passes, handle the basketball, try to make things easier for the second unit if at all possible. That would be my biggest goal outside of the organization.
Yeah. I think the trade the Nuggets need to make this summer is they need to trade Zeke Naji.
Okay, I'm listening.
Once Reggie Jackson opts into his contract, Reggie Jackson,
Okay.
and their first round pick for the best player they can get. That's the trade I think needs to happen.
I think you're going to tell us who it was.
Well, because who knows?
Well,
I mean, I think the best player that I have realistically talked myself into is Bogdan Bogdanovic. That's like the best case ever scenario, I feel like.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm just talking.
We
really.
talked about this on yesterday's show, Ryan. Like, how attached are you to this first, considering two things? Like, A, you probably need to attach something to Zeke Naji to move him.
yeah.
But if you attach
Piano.
enough, you can get hopeful you're getting something back.
You get a piano.
As
No,
opposed to
you
just-
have to give a piano.
I'm saying I'm saying,
Yeah.
Zeke and a couple second round picks, like that's just that you're dumping the salary and hoping
Yeah.
they take it. When you get all the way up to a first, you're hopeful you can get something back. I think maybe, but how attached are you to that first round pick, knowing you might need it to trade Zeke, and you've already got a bunch of youngsters on salary that are, in theory, moving up in the pipeline.
Well, let me be Debbie Downer first and foremost.
Oh, wow. Is
Here
this
we go.
podcast
It
starting
is.
right
That's your corner,
now?
Ryan.
Yeah,
That's
three-
your corner.
Are we on your podcast? What the hell?
Yeah.
dude?
What is this?
The 28th pick is 3 picks away from the second round in a draft that is
You're
supposed to be
right.
pretty bad. I'm not sure how valuable it's going to end up being and how much Denver can actually get for something like that. It
I
is an
agree.
asset.
I agree.
It is something that they can try to move. But the other thing is that the CBA is really, really pressing. And while I do like Harrison's idea of being able to aggregate some of those salaries together of Reggie and Zeke and try to turn it into somebody that's like a Bogdan Bogdanovic or a Jordan Clarkson or somebody like that, it's if Denver is over the super tax apron, that trade is not legal. It's just legitimately not able to happen. So Denver would have to manipulate a lot of things. They would probably have to, they might be losing KCP in the process in order to do something like that. And that would be pretty, like, it's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Like, is that the best case scenario? I don't know.
Well, they can do it at the draft, which is when they can trade that pick, because the order of stuff will happen KCP opts out.
That's right.
Reggie Jackson opts in, and his deadline is, I think, the day of the draft. So that stuff is already known. When KCP opts out, you're going to be below the apron anyway. So you can aggregate salaries. That's when they would have to make the deal. And look, I mean, Bogdanovich, that's probably like a pipe dream.
That is
but he
Well,
did yell at his coach on the sideline. It does seem like Atlanta would probably think about a rebuild now that they have the first overall pick. But I just feel like that trade, man, it would clear up a lot.
Yeah.
You can wipe your slate clean of Reggie and Zeke. If you just trade that package for a guy, like maybe a Bobby Portis, who's a guy I feel like could be available this summer with Milwaukee kind of rethinking things. If you do that, you kind of wipe the slate clean. You get a playoff-tested guy that you know is going to be in your playoff rotation. And then you just kind of rethink the bench from there. But to go back to your earlier point, yeah, backup point guard, it's got to be something they look at because they can't do 82 games of Reggie Jackson again.
No.
You just can't do that, man.
But is Jalen Pickett?
It wasn't a great idea at the beginning of the season. That's one of the things I was
and I
pretty
don't think
critical
anybody
of.
thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's true. And so Michael Malone needs some, like he probably needs a veteran that he can trust, somebody that he can hand the reins to on that second unit and say, hey, you're going to be responsible for this thing. I think Bogdanovich would qualify. I think that'd be a good idea.
Of course,
it'd be
it'd
incredible.
be awesome, but
What do you guys
I
think
agree
about
it's
this
like
name?
pipe dreaming.
What do you guys think about this name? Not a combo guard. Gordon Hayward.
Wait, do me a favor. Oh, I was going to ask you to save it until.
No,
Stay to say it. Stay tuned.
Gordon Hayward, comma.
Who else? Find out after the break.
Wistara Credit Union, founded in 1934. Here in Colorado with 9 locations in the Denver metro area, they're all about helping members financially prosper. Education is their thing. They were started by a group of 8 school teachers, so helping others is in their DNA. As a member, you see that come through in every interaction. It's all about the local community with these guys. They just launched an awesome new product, Smart Money Checking.
What?
You can meet the checking account designed to help you earn unheard of interest on smaller balances with other great perks. You can earn up to 6% annual percentage yield on your first $2,000 each month.
Hell yeah.
So check out Wistara Credit Union if you like earning money by doing things you're already doing with your checking account. WistaraCU.com/smartmoney. For more details, membership eligibility required, insured by NCUA. Restrictions and conditions apply. They have 9 locations in Denver, founded in Colorado. Check out Wistara Credit Union today.
You know what else is in Colorado? All over the place? Illegal Pete's.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
This episode is brought to you in part by Illegal Pete's, Colorado Springs. Now you have a friend in the burrito business. Illegal Pete's Colorado Springs is open, baby. Swing by and join the festivities with live music, endless margaritas, and of course, all your favorite burrito fixins. Located in the heart of downtown Colorado Springs. And, you know, when people come and visit Denver,
Or Colorado Springs.
I'm saying, like, now the Springs has access to this, and I'm just from my own experience.
Colorado Springs has it too, dude.
Yeah, that's right, Eric. That's the point of the read. Yep. So one more time.
I actually forgot. What?
Colorado Springs has it too.
Springs.
Oh, right.
And they go, man, I want a burrito. Is redacted open? I'm like, dude, we're not going to redacted.
Yeah, like, what do we want? Criminally small portion sizes that need to be
Better
documented
ingredients,
on the internet?
bigger portions, and a bar. Like,
Dude.
no, we're going to Illegal Pete's because it's the
Jalapenos.
go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer,
Hell
and
yeah.
margs if you're into that, or water if you're into that, or just burrito. You get the idea.
Whatever, dude.
Patio
The
season
restaurant.
is here. Illegal Pete's, your spot for burritos, buddies, and beer.
Hell yeah. I might go right now.
Let's go after the show.
We've got 12
After?
minutes.
Right now.
Yeah,
Dude,
I'm
done with-
super down. Well, no, I need you to.
Do you still want to talk
tease-
about the Nuggets? I'm so over the
You just
fucking
teased
Nuggets.
Gordon Hayward.
Oh,
bro.
right. Yeah, what do you think? Listen, Sam Presti just came out and said that the Gordon Hayward trade move was one of the mistakes he made early on. He feels like in his GMing tenure, because he brought him in and he didn't do anything for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and now he's being released. And when they acquired him, I was like, that's actually an awesome move. And they didn't do anything with him. That feels like a guy that makes sense in Denver. I don't know how it works. I don't know how we have to clear the table. I don't know how But it just seems like that's a name out there that doesn't have anyone attached to him. That feels like that could be a positive addition for Denver. What say all of you at the same time?
I'm not allowed to speak.
Why does he seem like a Denver guy?
I'm not allowed to speak on this, so I'm gonna.
It just seems like
I'm not allowed to talk about white
weird.
players
Lay out
anymore. So I'm just gonna send this to
He
you
just
guys.
looks like he
Layout,
likes
dude.
burritos, buddies, and beer. What are you talking about?
He's a gamer.
I feel like I saw you put this out
Yeah.
on the internet today. So what do you think?
I would love for Denver to consider it. I think he falls into that fourth category, right, of the ring chasers, where you want somebody who has made the money in their career, who's good, and is probably worth more than what is just a veteran minimum at this stage of their career. And I think that Gordon Hayward still got more to give, and I didn't agree with the way that OKC used him. I thought
just
that
didn't.
The problem for them is that they have so many playable options that you have to continue to give everybody their due. There isn't really a pecking order there, and that's what's great about their culture. Gordon Hayward walked in there and was like, you know what? I'd kind of like to play over some of these kids.
He's like, this is not what a pro wants.
That's
I know.
I got that reference. Because I watched TV this year.
Yeah, not in the flex zone either.
No, dude.
No,
he's
not
like,
in the flex,
not
he's
no
like,
flex zone.
he's
dude.
like, is there a little flexibility? Could
No,
we,
no flex
no,
zone.
dude. No flex zone. Pay attention.
Sam Presti should have known better. I think that would have been an interesting addition for Denver. I was critical that Denver didn't add anybody at the buyout market, despite the fact that they may not have liked some of the choices. I thought that Denver didn't have enough off of their bench, and as it turns out, they didn't have enough off of their bench.
I definitely feel that way about ball handling.
I think Gordon Hayward would be a good choice. I've heard there's people within the Nuggets who like Hayward for sure. If they can get him on a minimum, absolutely.
Yeah,
That'd be a
amazing.
great addition for the bench unit.
For sure.
Great addition.
All right, Ryan, let's go back to your list here as we're in the home stretch of the show.
Wait, do we have a top 4?
Yeah.
We love making lists on this show, man.
We love lists.
I only
dude.
gave them 4 options. So
A top 4?
I decided, 5 was too much for this segment.
Look, with the way the timing's working out, it's perfect.
It's like, hey, let's go run a race. It's 23 yards.
No, number 1 is re-sign Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. This one I think should be a no-brainer for folks. The Nuggets do not really have a great option to replace him.
Yeah.
If they just sign him with the intention of literally trading his contract later, that would be better than letting him go. And that's, if you want to pay attention to how the Boston Celtics have run things, the way that they have gotten as good as they are, is because they don't let people walk in free agency. They keep their talent. They make sure that everybody is on track. That's not the reason why I would trade Casey, or why I would keep KCP around. I think KCP is really good. He is exactly what a team needs as a 5th starter. He is a very important 3-and-D player, nearly all defensive caliber this year, shot 40% from 3. I mean, you guys know how this goes. Like, you want to keep guys like that around, and if Denver can keep him on a reasonable contract, they absolutely should.
And obviously, they're not going to sit up there at the press conference and tell us everything they're really thinking and everything they're going to do. But man, I did get the sense that they're not necessarily afraid of the second apron. If they have to spend a little bit to keep KCP and it restricts their mobility going forward, they may just have to do that, because how is it better to just not have a KCP at all?
Yeah. What's so funny?
I can't tell if this is an insult or a compliment. Ryan's as brilliant as he is handsome. Is that an insult or a compliment? You tell us.
I was taking it as a compliment until you said something.
Well, I
about
just
it,
want to know.
honestly.
Yeah, I'm glad you
What
asked
is-
Ryan.
Thank you for
I
bringing
want
it
to
up.
know.
Yeah.
I want to know how you interpret that. Is that a compliment or an insult?
I am here currently in the studio.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, like at that end of season presser, I actually came away from it a little encouraged about the hopes of keeping KCP for sure.
Yeah.
Because like I asked Calvin Booth about it, somebody asked Josh Kroenke about it. Will you go into the second apron? Is that something you want to avoid? And they were both pretty much like, the number 1 priority is building the best team that we can. And then, second apron and financial flexibility comes in after that. And look, the more you think about it, man, if they lose KCP,
Bad.
I'm going to be worried about next year.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Julian Strother, Christian Brown, like those are the 2 guys who could start at the 2. Like that's kind of scary, man.
Strother's nowhere near ready.
That's really scary. And
What about Justin Holiday?
that's scary as well, Ryan.
They're almost the same defensively. One just gets burned irreparable, just every game. Like,
It's just like, I do feel like they're kind of backed into a corner where if they don't sign him, they might be kind of screwed next season at that spot. And yeah, you can sign him, and then maybe in a couple years or after next year, you can trade him. What if you signed him to like a 5-year deal at a lower money number and you just give him the years? You know, instead of signing him for like 3 years or 2 years for like $20 million a year, you sign him for like $15 million a year for 4 or 5 years going out. Maybe he wants that. But it feels like you kind of have to go into the second apron to keep him. It feels like you have to do that.
Yeah. And I think you don't really have a choice, I think. I mean, I think you're moving even further into the, we might not win this year, but we have a long-term plan. Like if it's Christian Brown or Julian Strawther.
they're like,
Imagine
just
selling
trust
that
the
vision.
process, will you please?
Imagine selling that vision to Joker.
Right.
Imagine selling
That's a good
that
point.
to
That's a good point.
Jamal, that in back-to-back years you lost Bruce Brown and KCP.
Well, there's nothing they could do about Bruce Brown.
Yeah, sure. But like, if a team could have found a way, then that would be great. But you have all of the opportunity at your disposal to bring back KCP. They have the bird rights. They can pay him as much as they want to.
Yep.
The question is whether they want to.
Ryan, I appreciate you coming on, man. That's a good list. These are some good thoughts.
We've had better shows.
We've heard a
I
lot
know.
from us. The chat's heard enough from us. Let's hear from the chat, shall we? We've
Yeah,
got
dude.
some super chats even.
Let's get some good comments finally.
Let's go.
Jose Aviles. How about getting someone like Willie Hernan Gomez?
Sure. Yeah. That seems like. I mean, you're very familiar with the Herman Gomez.
I know.
If you
we had-
will.
we had-
I won't. So.
I won't.
We
Yeah.
had Tom Cruise, or we had Bo Cruz. Tom Cruise?
Didn't he just win? Didn't he just win
Yes.
the early?
so.
Yeah.
Good for him.
With
Dude, I would-
Panathiakos.
I wouldn't mind bringing back Juancho.
Well,
Does he fit into the ring chaser category?
Kind of, I
Juancho?
think, yeah. He's an international ring chaser. All right, what else do we got here? Mile High Sing. Is there any way the Nuggets can re-sign KCP, acquire Bruce Brown and Bogdan Bogdanovic?
LeBron James also.
ooh.
That would for sure put Denver
it
in
would
the
be
same
pretty
interview.
tough. I'll say that. But here's the thing: like, if Bruce Brown wants to come for a minimum, then they could do it. But that doesn't seem like what he would want to do.
The Raptors are definitely just going to trade him. For sure.
For sure.
Make the most sense.
Carlos Romero, Bleacher Report wrote MPJ to Toronto for Bruce Brown, Olynyk, 24 second and 26 first. Who says no quicker? If MPJ gets traded, would it be surprising?
Brendan does.
I know it's a polarizing topic.
I floated this in back channels as a potential deal. Olynyk is the exact second center that you would want if you wanted to replicate what Joker does, but you're losing a lot by just trading Mike. That seems like a lot to give up.
I think that'd be a terrible trade. I think people have this image of Bruce Brown, like,
I know.
that is overinflated a little bit.
Because he was so good in the playoffs.
And off
And
the bench,
obviously
which is what we
everybody's
don't have now.
really down on Michael Porter, but like,
I know.
I think the Nuggets would kind of be crazy to trade Michael Porter unless you're getting like a bona fide third best player or like a fringe all-star level guy back.
And
And
this, I was going to say, like, these are the type of trades that you look at in sort of a bloodless vacuum way that you're like, oh, okay, you know, that this is worth 5 and this is worth 4 and 4 plus, it's a Moneyball kind of way. But like, this is like what the Rockies just did with Nolan Arenado. Like, it was, they got rid of him and it made all the sense financially, logistically, but it like, this is a vibes killer. This I believe. Like, I don't think you can turn your, having gone through everything you've gone through with MPJ, like I think it's just bad juju to do something like this personally.
Yeah.
I also think people might at this point underestimate how much regular season pop you would lose
Oh, dude,
offensively.
for sure.
Like, I know
And
he's not as bad as he was in Minnesota. Like,
That's the thing, is it's like he is painted with the most recent brush where it was just like not good, and you're the lasting taste of Michael Porter Jr. that you had in your mouth is that he was terrible. And
Right.
you're like, but he's not terrible. He just was terrible. Be like, I don't know.
But I will always understand the conversation of like, could these resources be allocated differently? I think that's always a fair way to think about it. But some of us are higher on Mike than others.
Could you imagine Denver being the 12th best offense and 5th best defense next year with something like this? That'd be such a weird way to think about the Nuggets. I think about them as an offensive team.
Yeah.
All right, let's get through these. Shady Diaz 12, first time super chatter, long time listener.
Hell yeah, dude.
Thank you,
Shout
bro.
out Shady.
Thank you.
Big Honey, what's more important, backup point guard or center? Point guard for me.
This is tough.
Good question though.
This is tough because the problem is that there's not a center on the team that I feel like is viable, and I don't know what we have with Jalen Pickett. Like, I don't think that we should.
Would have been nice to find out this
I know,
season.
dude. But I mean, again, like that's not unheard of, and it's not like a weird way that Michael Malone went about things, just in a rogue way. It's like this is pretty standard for how NBA teams run their teams. I don't know. I don't think it's at all unthinkable that he could be the backup too, but we just don't have that backup five. We just don't. It's not on the squad.
It's really tough.
Or backup one.
They need somebody who can play in the playoffs, and I think the backup point guard more likely to play.
Chat GPT, give me a list of guards that are ball handlers, make $2 million and shoot 40%. Emmanuel Quickly, Tyrese Martin, Ao Dosunmo.
Quickly's in line for a new contract.
The drawbacks
with
of
Toronto.
Chat GPT right
Ao,
there.
I know, got paid, but Ao would be great on this team. Like, think about it. I mean,
Tyrese Martin, really intriguing player though.
who?
Tyrese Martin.
Who
Yeah,
did
I
he play
know.
for?
Yeah. Honestly, like, I feel like I know the league really well. I couldn't tell you who he played for. at
Yeah,
all.
I'm
well,
Googling it.
Dude,
probably
I was-
Tyrese Maxey.
I would
is
be
who he's
very
referring
bummed
to.
also if the Nuggets went out and acquired Delon Wright after him being dumped. Like, it's a player that ends up on the buyout market. Not good. Not
Yeah, I wonder if DeLon Wright's a minimum guy. That's one I thought about putting in my list.
Dude, but
I
if-
feel like he's slightly over minimum. But you
Tyrese
never
Martin
know.
is a Timberwolf who averages 1.3 points, 0.8 rebounds,
I thought he
0.1
meant
assists per game.
Maxey.
Oh, my.
You thought you meant
I thought it was
Maxey?
just a Chat GPT mistake.
Yeah, no. Tyrese Martin.
Shout out to the King of Thornton.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And let's close this out with a super chat from Plus. Would getting a replacement big that provides rim protection backfire in a way because sometimes you want that guy in instead of Jokic? Or you just move Jokic to point guard or something?
Yeah, Jokic can play the four.
I think there's a like,
Who are you?
if you find the right guy, then you could
Djordjevic?
justify playing
Yes.
them together. Like, you could justify playing a backup center and Joker
Let's
at the
get
same
Yusuf
time.
Nurkic. I don't care. I have
don't think
nothing
there's-
left.
Guys, with the way Michael Malone was handed backup centers and Jokic's minutes, I don't think there's any universe in which any player could force him to play Jokic less than he needs to.
Yeah.
That's just how I
And that's okay. Like, 38 minutes for Joker in the playoffs is fine.
Chat, we appreciate
Yeah.
you hanging out with us again, just as you did yesterday. Great show. Ryan, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, man. I
D-Line, you
appreciate
all
it.
right? Harrison, good to see you, man. Get out of
All
here.
right, I'll
and
take
we'll
it.
We'll be back tomorrow with Matt Brooks from Nuggets.com. He'll be hanging out with the fellas live in
guy's
the
cool.
studio. Possibly a dev appearance.
What?
Huh?
What?
That's a tease that I can't
Way to bury the
guarantee.
lead, dude. Way to bury the
See you
lead,
tomorrow.
dude.